Hello everybody, my name is Alexis. I'm an entrepreneur, speaker, and author of the book A Journey into Truth, Unveiling Life's Secrets for Truth Seekers. And you are watching the Vibrate to Create YouTube channel. And on this channel, I talk about life, philosophy, meaning, art, spirituality, metaphysics, and so much more. If you're interested in topics like these, then click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to be notified of when I post new videos so you never miss a video. Thank you for being a part of my journey. I hope you enjoyed today's video. We're here, we're ready, let's do it. Okay, so I film multiple kinds of videos. I talk about informational teachings about spirituality and metaphysics. I also do like reaction videos to spiritual teachers, but another form, and I also do vlogs and I talk about entrepreneurship. But today I really wanted to talk about this particular movie. So I also have a series where I talk about movies and the impact that they've had on my life. Very specific movies that have really spoken to my heart and really kind of impacted my life. So I wanted to talk about The Bucket List today, and this is one of my favorite movies as well. I have many favorite movies, as you can tell. But I really love this movie because it really dives into a lot of the things that I have experienced in my own life and a lot of the reasons why I have the beliefs and live my life in the way that I live it. So today we're going to be talking about The Bucket List. And I actually already filmed this video about a day or two ago, and I had to refilm it today because when I filmed it last time I didn't have the microphone cord plugged into the camera, so you couldn't really hear me. So we're gonna redo it today, and I made sure the cord was plugged in. I made sure everything was set up well today and all in placement and alignment, so we're gonna redo it today. So let's do it.
There was a survey once. 1,000 people asked if they could know in advance would they want to know the exact day of their death. 96% of them said no. I always kind of leaned toward the other 4%. I thought it would be liberating, knowing how much time you had left to work with. It turns out, it's not. My freshman philosophy professor assigned this exercise in forward thinking. He called it a bucket list. We were supposed to make a list of all the things we wanted to do in our lives before we
kick the bucket. Cutesy.
Anyway, I wrote down things like make $1 million, first black president, young man's wishes. I was gonna redo the list, but then...
Help a complete stranger for the good. Laugh until I cry. Not to be judgmental, but this is extremely weak.
It's pointless now. What are you doing?
Little rewrite, that's all. I mean, don't you want to go out with some balls, guns blazing, have a little fun?
It was not supposed to be about guns blazing or anything like that. You're missing the point.
What the hell is witness something majestic?
You ever been to the Himalayas?
Drive a Mustang Shelby, not bad. I got one, all right. How about skydiving? It's easy to be deep in freshman philosophy. What's Dr. Holland say? We got months, right?
A year, maybe.
You think 45 years went by fast? We could do this. We should do this.
No, I
Don't think about money. That's all I got is money.
But I don't know.
What don't you know?
It was meant to be metaphorical.
You're the one crying you never took a shot. Here's your chance.
My chance to what? Make a fool of myself?
Never too late.
Okay, so that is the very first clip. And before we go on to the next clip that I'll be playing from this movie, I wanted to, this just came up in my mind as a part of the book, and I want to read for you a part of my book that kind of reminds me of this movie. So this part, where is it? Okay, So this part is page 162 in Live Because You Will Die. And it is a story that I came across when I was, spiritually seeking and spiritually searching. And I used to love Wayne Dyer because I loved his voice and just his overall aura and his energy or his essence. It was very down to earth and just very calming, that voice. So I really loved Wayne Dyer. There's a movie with Wayne Dyer that he actually directed and came up with the ideas for too. That's a really good movie as well. So maybe one day we'll be reacting to that one. But this is, like I said, in that chapter on page 162. Wayne Dyer used to tell a story written by Leo Tolstoy about a man named Ivan Ilyich. This was a man who lived his life doing a job he never loved. He fostered shallow relationships and focused on his work, materialism, and his status within the eyes of others. In this story, he develops a terminal ailment, which causes him to face death head-on. With the prospect of his life ending, he realizes how futile his life was, how meaningless these objects and his status were. This story inspired Wayne Dyer to not die with his music still inside of him. He wanted to live his life fully, to give his gifts to the world. It inspired him to do what he loved to do, and through that, he inspired crowds of people. Choose for yourself so that you don't wake up on the last day of your life asking yourself, did anything I've ever done mean something? Did I live my life fully and happily? Or do I wish there was something I would have had the courage to do? And maybe we'll get into another part of this chapter in just a second. But to me, I want to make sure that you guys can hear me. This is probably a little bit of a better angle. So, to me, that story, as I was going along my journey, it really resonated with me because my journey began with a cancer scare and with just myself facing death head on when I was 16 years old. And so I was so afraid at the beginning, before I stepped into the spiritual field and started learning about the nature of reality and what happens after we die, and just coming more to an acceptance of the way that life works. And so to me, that story was so just giving so much peace and so much awareness of the right word would be the preciousness of life and the preciousness of each moment that we spend with people or with ourselves or the choices that we make. And so this movie is also very much like this story in that it's these two men who have a terminal ailment and they decide to go on this big, long adventure. It's so much like my book and like my life. They go on this big adventure and they go skydiving and they see all these incredible sights, and they would have never had the courage to actually step out and go do those things had they not faced one of the scariest. Many people are very afraid of death. And we may say oh, I'm not afraid. And then when you encounter something like having cancer, when you encounter the realness and the rawness of that understanding the vulnerability of your body and your physicality, then it becomes very apparent of like they were saying, we've got 4 months. What are we going to do with the time now? And to me, that story by Wayne Dyer is such a testament to helping people to get to that awareness and to understand the preciousness of their time before they get to that point where they've got no time. And I just love that story so much, and I love this movie so much. And we'll go over a couple more clips as well of their journey and their parts of unfoldment, because it's not just about the big moments doing the skydiving and these big what is that word, extravagant moments in life, but it also ends up becoming about relationships and rebuilding relationships and getting back into contact with loved ones where they felt regret. And it's just such a good story when you really understand it and kind of apply it to your own life and your own choices that you've been making or the changes you could be making in your life. So I love this movie so much. So now that we went over that, let's go through a couple of other clips and then see what comes up. So this is a trailer for the movie. So it might just have tiny little pieces of what it's about.
I run hospitals, not health spas. 2 beds to a room, no exceptions.
There was a survey once. 1,000 people asked if they could know in advance would they want to know the exact day of their death.
Who the hell is that?
Who the hell are you? 96% of them said no.
Oh, God. What am I, in the morgue?
That was the first time I laid eyes on Edward Cole.
I want my own room.
You run hospitals, not health spas. 2 beds to a room, no exceptions.
Damned if I'm gonna spend the next 3 weeks laying next to Zombie Boy.
My freshman philosophy professor signed this exercise and called it a bucket list. We were supposed to make a list of all the things we wanted to do in our lives before we
Kick the bucket. Cutesy.
It's pointless now.
We could do this. We should do this.
This is living! I hate your rotten guts!
Is he insane?
Depends.
You gonna drive it or buy it a dress?
Just getting to know each other.
I don't understand how you can run off with a total stranger.
You got kids?
I don't see her. It's time. Why are we, Oh, my God.
What are you so afraid of?
Just because I told you my story does not invite you to be a part of it.
Dear Edward, there's no way I can repay you for all you've done for me. So rather than try, I'm just going to ask you to do something else for me. Find the joy in your life.
You hate me?
Not yet.
We live, we die, and the wheels on the bus go round and round.
Proud of you.
Nobody cares what you think.
Well, I think that perfectly encompasses what the movie is about and the general premise. I'm like getting all teary-eyed right now. I'm going to read to you another part of the book. So here we go. Okay. So it says, this is page 160 in the same chapter. But my absolute biggest fear, the most unthinkable option to me, was becoming that person who struggled their whole life and gave up on their dreams to work at a job they despised. Because in just 10 more years, there would be a rainbow at the end of the storm. I feared becoming that person who spent their whole life working for another company, biting their tongue, dragging their feet to work each day for 40 years because one day they'd be able to retire and finally start living. Then they would get there, and there they are, money in hand and miserable for having spent their whole life doing something they hated. They would have spent their entire lives chasing a brighter tomorrow, never delighting in the now. Then they would die, never realizing the true meaning of life. To me, that was never an option. Understanding that death is inevitable is the reason I went to a spiritual festival alone. It's why I went seeking the truths of existence, got the courage to travel for the first time on a cruise ship by myself, got on a plane to walk through jungles and do ayahuasca. It's the reason I refuse not to follow my passions or dreams. In my life, there is no yesterday, no tomorrow, just now. I know I will die anyway. I seek to go into that dark night, having lived wholeheartedly, fully, unabashedly, and courageously. The point, the purpose, the beauty of my spiritual journey was and is the unfoldment. It's the friends I have yet to meet. It's the laughs I've had, the discoveries I've made, the realizations I've uncovered, the places I've seen, and the person I have become. If there were one piece of advice that I could give to all who came across this book, one piece of information I would offer to all who sat before me, I would say, always choose for yourself. Please do not do something solely because your parents taught you that it would be best for you. If an opportunity arises for you to travel and others around you are telling you not to do it, but you feel in your heart that you must do it, then please choose for yourself. If you want to be an actor and your father wants you to be a carpenter, please choose for yourself. If you want to live in a van and travel the world, but someone told you that you needed a big home with plenty of items, please choose for yourself. Someone once told me when I said I was afraid to love another person because previous love hurt me so much, life is not meant for you to eternally sit in the sand because there are sharks in the sea. Life is meant for you to dive into the water and swim, even if there are sharks. That is boundless, free, and joyous living. Get in the water. If you fall, you can get back up. If you fail, you can learn. If you get hurt in love, then you can learn how to love even better. If you mess up in an improv scene, a new one is coming. If you have a horrible ayahuasca experience and use that experience to decide never to try it again, you could miss out on a beautiful experience. And this is where I go into the story by Wayne Dyer. The last time I did this video, I actually cried as I was reading that little part of my book because it really reminded me about specifically the part about the sharks in the water and about the relationships, because I definitely have a lot of fears about relationships and maybe walls built up. And so it was like reminding me to be more open to love, because I think that's the one area where I'm a little bit more cautious because it's dangerous. It's dangerous because you're allowing another person to know you deeply and vulnerably, and it takes so much vulnerability to step into that place, to like let someone see every part of you and still hopefully love you. It's a scary thing. It's a scary thing. It's also a beautiful thing. It can be both. But that's what I'm working on right now. But yeah, that's why I got emotional last time, because it was like just a good reminder, because it is in my book and I do teach these things, but I'm not 100% like completely already there. I think we're all work in progress, and I definitely am too, along with you guys. So it was a good reminder for me as well. I do live like that in many other ways, like going and doing the rock star nights and like really going out there and in my career, stepping out there courageously and doing these things and sharing my stories. And I am very courageous in that sense. And there are also other senses where I'm a little bit more safe and a little bit more cautious, but that's not always a good thing. So we all have things to work on. I would actually recommend that you decide to like make your own bucket list of the things that you'd love to see or to do or experience in your lifetime and in the time that you have while you're here, and just like think about actually making those things real. I have a bucket list, and I've had one for many years actually, and one of the things that I really wanted to do is I really wanted to go on a hot air balloon. And so one day I made the ticket and I told my cousin, I was like, I got tickets, like, let's go. And she's afraid of heights, but she did come with me. And I remember being up in the air and looking out over just such a beautiful landscape and just having teary eyes because I was so completely in that moment of just like, this is real. Like, I dreamed of being up here and experiencing this moment, and now here I am fully experiencing something so incredible and beautiful. I talk about that experience in my book too. It's a funny little passage. It's funny to me, at least. It's in Riding the Wave. And what else? Or even like Machu Picchu. I really wanted to see Machu Picchu. I didn't know how I was going to get there, but I knew I wanted to see it. And not long after realizing I wanted to see it, I met a woman who was a business owner, and she took people on retreats to go out to Peru, and then we got to see Machu Picchu when I went on the retreat. And I remember just being there and being like, how the heck did this happen? Because I, like, so young, like, I don't know their language. I would be too afraid to do it on my own, but somehow the universe just like conspired to bring the people I needed in my life who would help me to like branch out and be able to go see those things, because she spoke the language and she was very well versed in traveling and knew so much about traveling, and she was just such a beautiful woman. She's from Bolivia, and just it's incredible what happens when you like put it out to the universe and you're like, I'm gonna do this thing, I want to do this thing, and then somehow these things just kind of click and things happen in life, and it's just like, I'm here now. And I'm standing right here in front of Machu Picchu and looking out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I wanted to see this, and here I am. It was incredible. It was really incredible. So I really hope for you, the person watching, that you get to experience something like that, that you write it down and you're like, one day I'm doing that. And then you go do it, and then you look back and you're like, thank you, Alexis, thank you for telling me to do these things, because that is one of the ways to live such a fulfilled life. Like, I want to get to the end of my life and be like, I did it all. I did everything I wanted to do. And I'm complete. I'm whole. I'm happy with how my life went, even though it wasn't perfect, and I grew and I changed and I had so many beautiful experiences and ugly experiences, but at the end of the day, I did everything I wanted. I think that's the kind of life I hope for you as well. So I think that'll be all for this video. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you got something from it. I hope it leads you to make new choices and to dream a little bigger and to actually follow those dreams and make the steps to make them happen. If you have any things that you really wanted to do in your life and experiences where you were like, I love this moment, and you had a moment like me seeing Machu Picchu, let me know a little bit about it. What was that moment like? What did you experience? How did it feel? What was going through your mind? What was going on around in the place? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.